You wake up, and the world is silent. No people, no cars. Just you and the wind whispering through empty streets. What happened to everyone? Where did they go? You're alone, but for how long? What if you woke up and everyone was gone? Sleep Story, a calming bedtime story in 5 chapters. Chapter 1T. The empty morning you wake up slowly, your eyes opening to the soft morning light filtering through your bedroom curtains. There's something different about this morning, something that makes you pause before you even sit up. In bed, the silence is deeper than usual, more complete, more enveloping. You lie there for a moment, listening, waiting for the familiar sounds of morning to begin. The distant hum of traffic that usually starts before dawn. The neighbor's dog barking. The coffee maker gurgling to life in the apartment next door. But there's nothing, only the gentle whisper of air moving through the room, and the soft rhythm of your own breathing. You slide your feet to the floor. The cool hardwood beneath your bare feet grounding you in this strangely quiet world. You pad softly to the window, drawing back the curtains with careful fingers. The street below should be bustling with the early morning commute. Cars lined up at the traffic light, people walking briskly with coffee cups and briefcases. But the street is empty. Perfectly, completely empty. The traffic light continues its endless cycle. Red, yellow, green, red again. But there are no cars to direct, no pedestrians to guide. Just the mechanical rhythm of colored lights painting the empty asphalt in shifting hues. You watch for several minutes, mesmerized by this solitary dance of signals, wondering if perhaps you're simply looking too early. Perhaps everyone is still asleep, but the sun is well above the horizon now, and the clock on your nightstand reads 8:30. Long past the time when this street would normally be alive with activity. You move through your apartment, each room greeting you with the same unusual stillness. Even the refrigerator seems to hum more quietly, as if it too is holding its breath. You make your way to the front door, your hand hesitating on the doorknob. There's something almost sacred about this silence, something that makes you reluctant to break it. But curiosity draws you forward, and you turn the handle, stepping out into the hallway. The corridor stretches before you, doors closed on either side. But something is different here, too. The door to apartment 3B stands slightly ajar, which is unusual because Mrs. Henderson always keeps her door locked tight. 3 deadbolts and a chain. She's told you about it many times. You approach slowly, your footsteps muffled by the worn carpet. Mrs. Henderson, you call softly, your voice seeming to absorb into the walls. Are you all right? No response. You push the door open just a little wider, peering into the neat living room beyond. The television is on, showing the morning news, but the sound is muted. Images of weather maps and traffic reports flicker silently across the screen. A cup of coffee sits on the side table, still steaming, still warm, but Mrs. Henderson is nowhere to be seen. Her reading glasses lie folded on an open newspaper, as if she's simply stepped away for a moment. But something tells you she won't be returning. Not this morning, perhaps not ever. You close the door gently, a strange mix of concern and wonder filling your chest, and continue down the hallway. The elevator arrives immediately when you press the button, as if it's been waiting just for you. The ride down seems longer than usual, each floor passing with a soft ding, but no one gets on. No one is waiting. The lobby is a study in abandonment. The security desk sits empty, the chair pushed back, as if the guard has just stepped away. His coffee cup is there too, half full and still warm. A magazine lies open to a crossword puzzle, only 3 words filled in. The pen rests beside it, cap off, ready to continue. You push through the heavy glass doors and step onto the sidewalk. The city stretches before you, a vast canvas of concrete and glass and steel, but painted now in shades of silence. The morning light catches the windows of tall buildings, turning them into mirrors that reflect only emptiness, only sky, only the occasional bird passing overhead. A city bus sits at the stop across the street, doors open wide, as if welcoming passengers who will never come. The engine idles quietly, a soft mechanical heartbeat in the stillness. You cross the street, drawn by curiosity, and peer inside. The driver's seat is empty, but his jacket hangs over the back of the chair, and a thermos of coffee sits in the cup holder, still warm to the touch. You continue walking, your footsteps echoing off the buildings, each step seeming louder than it should in this emptied world. Cars are parked along the curbs, some with doors left open, keys dangling from ignitions, none. Engines still running, as if their drivers have simply vanished mid-journey, evaporated into the morning air. One car catches your attention, a small blue sedan with the radio still playing, soft jazz drifting from the speakers. The driver's seat is adjusted for someone much shorter than you, and there's a lipstick on the dashboard, half opened, as if someone was touching up their makeup at a red light. But the light changed, and they never moved on. You lean against a street lamp, taking in the scene, trying to understand what you're seeing. The city looks perfectly normal, except for the absence, the missing ingredient that usually brings it all to life. The people, The buildings stand like empty shells, beautiful and functional, but hollow, waiting for their purpose to return. A gentle breeze moves through the street, rustling papers that have been left on benches, stirring leaves that have fallen from the trees. It's the only movement in this still, life painting of urban existence, and you find yourself grateful for it. This small reminder that the world is still alive, still breathing, even if it seems to be holding its breath. You notice a coffee shop on the corner, its door propped open with a decorative stone. The smell of fresh coffee and baked goods drifts out, warm and inviting, as if the morning rush is in full swing. But when you approach, you see the truth. The espresso machine is running, steam rising from its chrome surface. But no one tends it. Pastries sit in neat rows behind the glass, fresh and perfectly arranged. But the register stands open and empty. Behind the counter, an apron hangs on a hook, and there's flour dusted on the prep surface, as if someone was in the middle of baking. When what? When they simply cease to be there. You help yourself to a croissant, still warm from the oven, and leave exact change on the counter, though you're not sure why. Perhaps out of habit, or respect for the invisible baker who prepared this gift. The taste is familiar, buttery and light, a small comfort in this strange new reality. You eat slowly, savoring each bite, wondering if this might be the last perfectly baked croissant you'll ever taste. The thought doesn't frighten you. Not exactly, but it fills you with a deep appreciation for this simple pleasure. You continue your exploration, moving like a gentle ghost through the empty streets. Each corner you turn reveals the same pattern, life interrupted, but not destroyed, simply paused, as if the whole world has taken a collective breath and forgotten to exhale. A playground sits empty in a small park, swings moving slightly in the breeze, their chains creaking a soft metal lullaby. The sandbox holds the impression of small castles, carefully constructed and now abandoned to the elements. You sit on a bench facing the swings, watching them sway, and for a moment, you can almost hear the laughter of children, almost see the joy that usually fills this space. But the almost sounds fade, and you're left again with the profound silence. It's not an uncomfortable silence. Not exactly. It's more like the pause between movements in a symphony, pregnant with possibility. Waiting for the next note to begin, you lean back against the bench, closing your eyes, and let the quietude wash over you. When you open your eyes, the sun has moved noticeably across the sky, though you're not sure how long you've been sitting here. Time seems different in this empty world. less urgent, more fluid, as if the clocks are running, but the hours have lost their meaning. You rise from the bench, brushing imaginary dust from your clothes, and continue your wandering. Each street reveals new mysteries, new signs of interrupted life. A barber shop with the pole still spinning, its red and white stripes catching the light. The door is unlocked, and inside, hot towels sit in neat stacks, ready for customers who will never arrive. An ice cream truck is parked at the end of a residential street, its cheerful melody playing on repeat. But no children come running. No parents reach for their wallets. The music box tune echoes off the empty houses, a cheerful ghost of summer afternoons. You approach the truck, peering through the service window. Colorful treats line the freezer, perfectly preserved, waiting for small hands that may never reach for them. The residential street stretches before you, lined with houses that look like picture postcards. Lawns are perfectly manicured. Flowers bloom in neat gardens, but there's no one to appreciate their beauty, no one to water them or tend their growth. Sprinkler systems run on automatic timers, creating small rainbows in the afternoon light. But there are no children to run through the spray, no dogs to bark at the sudden moisture. You walk down the sidewalk, past windows that glow with warm interior light. You can see into living rooms where televisions play to empty couches, where ceiling fans turn lazily above vacant spaces, where family photos smile from mantelpieces, frozen faces watching over abandoned homes. One house draws your attention. Its front door stands wide open, and you can hear music playing inside. Something classical and soothing. You pause at the threshold, calling out a gentle hello, but only your own voice echoes back. You step inside, moving carefully through someone else's space, respectful of this unintended invitation. The living room is comfortable and lived in. Magazines scattered on a coffee table, reading glasses resting on an open book. A crossword puzzle is half completed, the pen lying across the squares as if the solver has just stepped away to make tea. But the kitchen holds only cooling silence, and the tea kettle sits cold on the stove. Upstairs, bedrooms wait in various states of morning preparation, clothes laid out for a day that may never come, alarm clocks that rang to wake no one, bathroom mirrors that reflect only emptiness. You move through these intimate spaces like a respectful visitor, touching nothing, disturbing nothing, simply witnessing the poetry of ordinary life interrupted. From an upstairs window, you can see the whole neighborhood spread below. Every house tells the same story. Life in suspension, existence on pause. gardens that will tend themselves, pools that will clean themselves, security systems that will monitor empty rooms, all the machinery of daily life continuing its cycles. But without the people who give it meaning, you make your way back downstairs, back out into the street. The music continues to play in the empty house behind you. A gentle soundtrack for this uninhabited world. You continue walking, no destination in mind. Simply following the pull of curiosity, the need to understand, to map the boundaries of this new reality. The afternoon light grows longer, shadows stretching across empty sidewalks, and you realize you haven't felt hungry, haven't felt thirsty, haven't felt any of the usual needs that mark the passage of time. Perhaps shock has numbed these sensations, or perhaps this empty world operates by different rules, requires different things from its sole inhabitant. You find yourself at the edge of the residential area, where the houses give way to small businesses and shops, all closed for a day that may never end. But their signs still glow. Their windows still shine with promotional lights. A bookstore displays new releases in its window. Stories waiting to be read, knowledge waiting to be absorbed by eyes that may never see them. A small restaurant has its patio set for lunch, tables arranged with perfect precision, water glasses filled and waiting, menus positioned just so. The hostess station holds a reservation book, appointments penciled in for patrons who will never arrive. You sit at one of the patio tables, looking out at the empty street, and try to imagine what this place was like just yesterday, filled with conversation and laughter and the gentle chaos of human community. But you can't quite capture it, can't quite remember what it felt like to be surrounded by other people. The memory seems distant, like something from a dream or a movie you watched long ago. You're beginning to understand that this silence isn't just an absence. It's becoming a presence, a thing in itself, something that's changing you, reshaping your understanding of what normal means. The sun begins its descent toward the horizon, painting the empty streets in shades of amber and gold, and you realize you've been walking for hours, exploring this ghost city, this museum of interrupted life. Your feet should be tired, your body should be demanding rest, but you feel strangely energized, as if the silence itself is sustaining you. You make your way back toward your apartment building, taking a different route, discovering new pockets of abandonment, new evidence of the great emptying. A construction site sits half finished, reaching toward the sky like mechanical prayers. But no workers guide their motion. No voices call across the framework. Only the wind whistling through steel beams, creating an industrial lullaby. As you walk, you begin to notice something else, something you missed in your morning exploration. The absence isn't just recent. It's fresh, immediate, as if whatever happened this morning. Perhaps even as you slept, coffees are still warm, engines still running, televisions still broadcasting, as if the world's population simply stepped out of their lives, intending to return, but never making it back. This realization brings with it a strange comfort. You're not dealing with some ancient apocalypse or some long-term decay. You're witnessing a pause, an intermission in the great symphony of human existence. And pauses, by their very nature, are temporary, aren't they? You arrive back at your building as the first stars appear in the darkening sky. The lobby welcomes you with its familiar emptiness. The elevator carries you up to your floor with patient efficiency. And your apartment door opens to the same gentle silence you left this morning. But somehow it feels different now. Less foreign, more like a comfortable companion. You prepare for bed, going through the motions of your evening routine. But everything feels ritualistic now. Ceremonial, as if you're performing these actions, not just for yourself, but for the memory of all the other people who used to perform them too. Brushing teeth that may never again need cleaning, washing a face that may never again be seen, changing into clothes that may never again be shared with another's presence. But these thoughts don't sadden you. Not exactly. They fill you with a strange sense of responsibility, as if you've been chosen to maintain these human rituals, to keep the practices alive until what? Until everyone returns. Until you understand what happened. Until you discover your purpose in this empty world. You slide into bed, pulling the covers up to your chin, and listen to the profound silence that blankets the city. It's not the silence of death, you realize. It's the silence of waiting, of potential, of a world holding its breath before the next movement begins. And as sleep begins to claim you all, you find yourself wondering what tomorrow will bring. What new discoveries await in this unpopulated paradise? What secrets might reveal themselves in the continuing quiet? You drift off to sleep with a sense of anticipation rather than fear, ready to explore deeper into this mystery, ready to uncover the next layer of this beautiful, impossible, empty world. The last thing you hear before sleep takes you is the soft hum of the city's machinery, the invisible systems that keep everything running, the faithful servants that tend an empty kingdom, singing their mechanical lullabies to an audience of one. To you, the sole witness to this grand intermission, This pause between one world and whatever comes next. Chapter 2 Way. Searching for signs of life. You wake to the same profound silence. But this morning it feels different, more familiar, like an old friend who's decided to stay for an extended visit. The sunlight streams through your windows with the same gentle warmth as yesterday. But today you notice how the dust motes dance in the beams, tiny galaxies swirling in the golden light, performing their ancient ballet for an audience of one. You move through your morning routine with deliberate slowness, savoring each moment, each simple action. The water from the faucet runs clear and cool. The coffee maker gurgles to life with cheerful efficiency. The toast pops up golden and perfect. All the systems of daily life continue their faithful service, as if they don't know they're performing for an empty theater. But today, you have a mission. Today you're going to search more systematically, to map this new reality with scientific precision, to understand the boundaries and rules of this world where you seem to be the only remaining resident. You dress carefully, practically, choosing comfortable shoes for what you suspect will be a long day of exploration. You step out onto the sidewalk with the confidence of someone who owns the entire city, because in a sense, you do. Every street is yours to explore, every building yours to investigate, every mystery yours to solve. The morning air feels crisp against your skin, carrying the faint scent of blooming flowers from gardens that tend themselves, of coffee from shops that brewed for no customers, of bread from bakeries that bake for no one. Your first stop is the grocery store 3 blocks away. Its automatic doors slide open with mechanical courtesy, and you step into a cathedral of commerce. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, casting their clinical glow over aisles that stretch like geometric prayers. Every shelf is fully stocked, every display perfectly arranged, as if the store is ready for the busiest shopping day of the year. But the checkout lanes stand empty, registers closed, shopping carts lined up in neat rows like metal soldiers awaiting orders that will never come. You take a cart just to hear its wheels squeak against the polished floor, to feel some connection to the normal rhythms of life, and begin your exploration. The produce section greets you with a rainbow of fresh fruits and vegetables. Apples shine under the misting system. Lettuce leaves glisten with perfect moisture. Bananas hang in precise yellow crescents. Everything is at the peak of freshness, as if the store's inventory was restocked moments before the world emptied. You select an apple, its skin smooth and cool in your palm, and take a bite. The sweetness explodes across your tongue, sharp and clean and alive, You continue through the aisles, noting how everything suggests interrupted normalcy. A shopping cart abandoned in the cereal aisle, half filled with items for what looks like a family breakfast. Pancake mix, syrup, fresh berries, orange juice. Someone was planning a special morning meal, but never made it to the checkout. Never made it home to surprise their loved ones with weekend luxury. The deli counter displays an array of meats and cheeses, all perfectly sliced and arranged, waiting for customers who want just a quarter pound of this, a half pound of that. The scale sits ready, the white paper stacked neatly, the slicer cleaned and gleaming. You imagine the deli worker, probably middle-aged, probably proud of their knife skills, stepping away for just a moment, maybe to get something from the back room, but never returning to finish the day's prep. In the pharmacy section, prescriptions wait in small white bags, names written in careful block letters, medications that people need, depend on, expect to collect. But the pharmacist's coat hangs empty on its hook, and the computer screen shows a queue of refills that will never be dispensed. Oh, you don't touch these bags, these intimate necessities, but you read the names, memorizing them, as if by doing so you can honor the people who will never claim them. The customer service desk holds a small pile of lottery tickets, scratch-offs that might hold winning numbers, dreams of fortune that will never be realized. A sign advertises the jackpot for tonight's drawing, millions of dollars that will go unclaimed, numbers that will be called to an empty world. You wonder if the machines will still conduct the drawing, if the balls will still tumble in their chamber, selecting winning combinations for phantom players. You make your way to the back of the store, to the employee areas, usually hidden from customers. The break room is a snapshot of interrupted routine. A sandwich sits, half-eaten on a small table, still fresh enough that someone was eating it this morning. A coffee mug bears the logo of a local radio station, still warm to the touch. A crossword puzzle is penciled in, all but 3 answers complete, as if the solver was saving the hardest clues for last. The manager's office is neat but lived in. Family photos smile from the desk, children and grandchildren frozen in moments of joy. A calendar shows today's date, circled in red, with inventory written in careful script. Someone was planning to count, to organize, to ensure that everything was in its proper place. But the counting will have to wait, perhaps forever. You leave the store through the same sliding doors, their sensors faithful to their programming, opening for anyone, even if that anyone is the last person in the world. The parking lot stretches empty, under the growing warmth of the morning sun. Shopping carts scattered here and there, some still loaded with groceries that their owners never made it home to unpack. Your next destination is the library, that temple of human knowledge and story. The building stands dignified and welcoming, its classical columns casting geometric shadows on the wide steps. The doors are unlocked, of course, and you enter into the hushed sanctuary of books and learning. The main desk sits ready for patrons, a computer terminal glowing patiently, waiting for someone to check out books, to ask questions, to seek the information that lives in these countless volumes. Behind the desk, a librarian's sweater is draped over a chair. Reading glasses rest beside a stack of books to be reshelved. A bookmark pokes out from a novel, marking someone's place in a story they may never finish. You wander through the stacks, your footsteps muffled by carpet that has absorbed decades of whispered conversations and quiet contemplation. Each section offers its own universe of knowledge: science and mathematics, history and biography, poetry and fiction, languages you recognize and others that remain mysterious, all of human understanding, organized and waiting, but for whom? In the children's section, small chairs sit around tiny tables, picture books spread open to colorful illustrations. Someone was reading story time this morning, perhaps getting ready for the weekly group of preschoolers. The book lies open to a page showing a friendly dragon sharing cookies with woodland creatures. A story of friendship and kindness, waiting to be shared with eyes that may never see it. The computer terminals glow with patient readiness, screensavers showing peaceful landscapes and abstract patterns. You sit at one and try to access the internet. The connection is strong. Websites load normally. But there's something eerie about scrolling through social media feeds that will never be updated, news sites that will never report new stories, email inboxes that will never receive another message. You try calling numbers from your phone, family, friends, colleagues, but each call goes straight to voicemail. Voices cheerfully asking you to leave a message, promising to call back soon. You don't leave messages. What would you say? How do you explain something you don't understand yourself? The reference section draws your attention. Those thick volumes that hold detailed information about everything, encyclopedias and atlases, dictionaries in dozens of languages. You pull out an atlas, opening it to maps of the world. All those places, all those cities and towns and villages, are they emptied too? Is this emptiness local, regional, global? The maps can't tell you, but they remind you how vast the world is, how many places there are to explore, to investigate, to understand. You spend the morning in the library, moving from section to section, sampling books like a bee sampling flowers, reading a few pages here, a few paragraphs there, not looking for anything specific, just maintaining the rhythm of curiosity, the human habit of seeking, of learning, of growing. Even if you're the only one left to do the growing. When hunger finally touches the edges of your consciousness, you make your way to the downtown area, where restaurants and cafes cluster like social organisms. Each establishment tells its own story of interrupted service. A coffee shop with the espresso machine still steaming. A restaurant with tables set for lunch, wine glasses positioned precisely, napkins folded into small tents, waiting for conversations that will never begin. You choose a small cafe with outdoor seating, helping yourself to a sandwich from the display case, leaving money on the counter out of habit, out of respect. The sandwich is fresh, perfectly made, and you eat it slowly while watching the empty street, trying to imagine what this scene looked like yesterday at this same time. The sidewalks filled with people, the tables occupied by couples and friends, the gentle buzz of human interaction that makes a city feel alive. But the imagination feels distant, like trying to remember a dream. The reality of the emptiness is becoming more natural, more comfortable. You're adapting, adjusting to this new world, where silence is the norm, where solitude is not loneliness, but simply the condition of existence. After lunch, you decide to investigate the hospital, that place where life and death dance their eternal ballet. The emergency room. Doors slide open automatically, and you enter into a space that should be filled with urgency, with the controlled chaos of medical emergency. But instead, there's only the soft hum of machines maintaining themselves. Monitors displaying flat lines but not the flat lines of death, simply the flat lines of waiting. The reception desk is organized and ready. Clipboards stacked neatly, forms waiting to be filled out. A computer terminal shows the emergency room status. All beds available, no patients waiting. The triage area stands empty. Chairs arranged in neat rows. Magazines fanned out on side tables. Everything prepared for sick and injured people who will never arrive. You walk through the corridors, past rooms, equipped with the most sophisticated medical technology, machines that can peer inside the human body, that can restart hearts, that can sustain life itself, all of them ready, all of them waiting, maintained by automatic systems that don't know their services are no longer needed. The operating theaters are particularly striking. Everything sterile and precise, lights positioned perfectly, instruments arranged with surgical exactness, tables where miracles of healing were performed, where skilled hands fought against death and often won, but now they wait empty, clean, ready for emergencies that will never come. You find yourself in the children's ward, where bright colors and cheerful decorations try to make a frightening place feel safe. Stuffed animals sit on beds that will never again hold small bodies fighting illness. Toys are arranged in playrooms where laughter should echo. But instead there's only the gentle whoosh of air circulation systems, maintaining perfect temperature for no one. The maternity ward tells perhaps the most poignant story. Rooms prepared for new life, for the joy of birth, for first cries and first breaths. Bassinets line the nursery, each one ready to hold a miracle. But the miracle of new life has been paused, suspended, waiting for a world that may or may not remember how to begin again. You leave the hospital as the afternoon light begins to slant through the empty streets. The sun is warm on your face, and you realize that despite the strangeness, despite the mystery, you're not afraid. There's something peaceful about this emptied world, something that allows you to see the beauty in systems that function perfectly, even without their intended purpose. Your exploration takes you to the school district. Elementary schools with playgrounds that echo only with the sound of wind through swing sets. Classrooms ready for students who will never arrive. Lessons planned on whiteboards. Textbooks open to pages that will never be read aloud. Libraries filled with books that young minds will never discover. High schools with their complex social ecosystems frozen in time. Lockers that will never slam shut. Hallways that will never echo with teenage laughter and drama. Gymnasiums where no games will be played. Auditoriums where no performances will be staged or the entire infrastructure of education, waiting patiently for minds to fill, for the future to arrive and take its place. Universities present an even grander scale of abandonment or vast campuses designed for thousands of students, lecture halls with their tiered seating ascending like amphitheaters of learning, laboratories equipped for cutting-edge research, libraries that house the accumulated knowledge of centuries, all of it waiting, ready to serve the pursuit of understanding, but serving now only the wind that moves through empty corridors. As evening approaches, you find yourself at the edge of the city, where urban development gives way to suburbs and then to countryside. The transition is marked by the same pattern: houses standing ready, lawns maintained by automatic sprinkler systems, but no families to fill them, No children to play in the yards. No neighbors to wave hello across fence lines. You climb a small hill that overlooks the city, settling onto a bench that someone placed here long ago, probably so they could sit and watch the sunset paint the skyline in evening colors. From this vantage point, the city looks almost normal. Lights are beginning to come on, activated by timers and sensors, creating the illusion of occupancy, of life continuing its rhythms. But you know the truth. You know that each light illuminates emptiness, that each glowing window frames vacant rooms, that the city is performing the theater of normalcy for an audience that no longer exists except for you, the sole witness to this grand performance. The sunset is particularly beautiful tonight, the sky painted in layers of orange and pink and purple, colors that seem more vivid somehow, as if nature is compensating for the absence of human appreciation. Or perhaps you're seeing more clearly now, paying attention with the intensity of someone who might be the last person to witness such beauty. Stars begin to appear as the sky darkens, points of light that have been shining for millennia, that will continue to shine long after what? After this mystery resolves, after people return, after you understand your role in this strange new reality. The stars don't know, don't care. They simply shine, constant and reliable, like the city's systems, like your own heartbeat, maintaining their patterns regardless of who's there to witness them. You make your way back down the hill, through streets that glow with artificial daylight, past buildings that hum with electrical life. The city is beautiful at night, perhaps more beautiful than when it was filled with people. There's something pure about its emptiness, something that allows you to see the elegant engineering, the thoughtful design, the way humans created systems to serve themselves, systems so robust they continue working even when their creators have vanished. Back in your apartment, you prepare for another night in this empty world. Your routines are becoming more ritualistic, more meaningful, as if you're performing them not just for yourself, but for all the people who used to perform them too. You're becoming the keeper of human habits, the guardian of daily rituals, the sole practitioner of the ordinary magic that makes life worth living. Before sleep, you stand at your window, looking out over the city that has become yours by default. Tomorrow you'll continue exploring, continue searching for clues, for understanding. But tonight, you're content to watch the lights twinkle like earthbound stars, to listen to the gentle hum of a world that continues turning, continues functioning, continues waiting for whatever comes next. And as sleep begins to claim you, you realize that you're no longer searching just for signs of life. You're beginning to search for signs of purpose, for clues about why you're here, why you were left behind, or chosen to remain. There's a difference between those possibilities, and tomorrow you'll begin to explore what that difference might mean. The last thought that crosses your mind before sleep takes you is a strange one. You realize you haven't looked in a mirror today, haven't thought about your own reflection, your own image, as if in this empty world you're becoming less concerned with how you appear and more focused on what you might discover, what you might become. In this vast theater where you're both the only actor and the only audience. Chapter 3D, the rules start breaking. You wake to sunlight that seems different, sharper somehow, as if the world is coming into focus with unusual clarity. The silence greets you like an old friend, now comfortable and familiar, but today there's something else, a quality to the stillness that you can't quite name, something that makes you pause in bed, listening, waiting. The clock on your nightstand reads 70:23, the same time you've been waking since this began. But as you watch, the minute hand doesn't move. 7:23, 7:23, still 7:23. You tap the clock face, thinking perhaps the mechanism has finally failed. But the second hand continues its steady sweep. Only the minute hand remains frozen, stuck in this moment like a record with a scratch. You rise and check your phone, which shows 8:47, then your laptop, which displays 6:15, then the microwave in the kitchen, which blinks 12,500 repeatedly, as if every timepiece has decided to measure something different. Or perhaps time itself has become negotiable, subject to interpretation rather than absolute truth. This doesn't alarm you. Not exactly. In a world where everyone has vanished, irregular timekeeping seems almost reasonable, like a minor malfunction in the grand machinery of reality. You shower and dress, your morning routine, now a meditation, a way of maintaining connection to the rhythms of normal life, even as those rhythms grow increasingly abstract. You step outside into morning air that carries an unusual quality, not different in temperature or humidity, but somehow more present, more substantial, as if the atmosphere itself has thickened with significance. The empty street stretches before you, familiar now, but today your eyes catch something that wasn't there yesterday. A newspaper lies on the sidewalk across the street, folded neatly as if recently delivered. But you explored that block thoroughly yesterday, and there was no newspaper, no sign of any deliveries. You cross over and pick it up, the paper crisp and fresh, dated today, but the headline makes you pause. O kill res SDNT, EXPO Rus MPTY CITY, followed by smaller text that you can't quite bring yourself to read. Not yet. The photograph below the headline shows a figure walking down a street, taken from behind. Impossible to identify, but something about the posture, the way the person carries themselves, sends a chill of recognition through your chest. You fold the newspaper carefully, not ready to process its implications, and continue walking. But now you're watching more carefully, looking for other changes, other signs that this empty world might not be as static as it appears. And it doesn't take long to find them. The coffee shop where you stopped yesterday shows subtle differences. The chairs are arranged differently, not dramatically, just shifted a few inches here and there, as if someone has been sitting in them, adjusting them for comfort, then leaving without putting them back exactly as they were. The cash register shows a different amount on its display, and there's a new cup beside the espresso machine. Still warm, still steaming. You call out, your voice echoing off the empty walls. Hello, is someone here? But only silence answers, the same profound quiet that has become your constant companion. Yet the evidence suggests otherwise, suggests that you're not as alone as you believed, that someone or something is sharing this empty world, moving through it when you're not watching, leaving traces for you to find. The thought should frighten you, but instead it brings a strange comfort, the possibility of not being completely alone, of there being some other consciousness navigating this mystery alongside you. Feels like hope, like the first warm day after a long winter. You could continue your exploration with heightened awareness, moving through the familiar streets, like a detective at a crime scene, noticing details that yesterday might have seemed insignificant. A bench that faces a different direction, flowers in a window box that appear freshly watered, a door that you remember being closed, now standing slightly ajar. The grocery store welcomes you with its automatic doors. But today the interior feels different, more alive somehow, as if the air itself holds the memory of recent movement. You make your way to the produce section and find that the apple you selected yesterday has been replaced, not with a different apple, but with the same apple, unmarked, unblemished, as if time has rewound itself in this small corner of the world. This discovery stops you cold. You distinctly remember taking that apple, remember the sweet taste, the satisfying crunch. But here it is again, perfect and untouched, waiting for a first bite that has somehow been undone. You reach for it again, half expecting your hand to pass through it like a mirage, but it's solid, real, cool against your palm. You take another bite, the same explosion of sweetness, the same crisp texture, but now it tastes like memory, like déjà vu given flavor. You set it down and step back, watching, waiting to see if it will reset again, if this small miracle will repeat. But it remains as you left it, marked by your teeth, claimed by your presence. Moving deeper into the store, you discover other impossibilities. The half-eaten sandwich in the employee break room is whole again. The crossword puzzle has been erased and refilled with different answers, all correct, all written in the same careful handwriting, but solving different clues, as if someone is playing the same game, but with different rules. In the pharmacy section, the prescription bags have multiplied, more names, more medications. But when you look closely, you recognize some of the names from yesterday, the same people, but with different prescriptions, different needs, as if their medical histories are being rewritten, reimagined, or perhaps lived in parallel timelines that occasionally cross paths. You find yourself speaking aloud, your voice carrying in the empty aisles. I know you're here. I know someone is here. The words feel important, necessary, like a prayer or an incantation. And for just a moment, you think you hear something, not quite an echo, not quite a response, but a shift in the quality of silence, as if the world is listening. Leaving the store, you notice your reflection in the automatic glass doors. But something about it seems delayed, as if the mirror image is a fraction of a second behind your movements. You wave your hand, and your reflection waves back, but not quite in sync, not quite simultaneously. You stop moving, and for just an instant, your reflection continues, adjusting your hair, smoothing your clothes, as if it has its own agenda, its own concerns. The walk back to your neighborhood takes you past a small park where children used to play. The playground equipment stands ready as always, but today the swings are moving, not just drifting in the breeze, but swinging in proper arcs, as if invisible children are pumping their legs, reaching for the sky, laughing with voices you can almost hear. You approach slowly, not wanting to disturb whatever force is animating this scene. The swings continue their rhythmic dance, chains creaking with the familiar sound of childhood joy. You sit on a nearby bench, watching this impossible playground ball it, and feel tears gathering in your eyes, though you're not sure if they're tears of sadness or wonder. A voice, soft and distant, seems to whisper your name. You turn toward the sound, scanning the empty park, but see nothing no one. Just the swings continuing their ghostly dance, and the trees rustling with wind that you can't feel. You whisper back, "Who's there?" But your words are absorbed by the strange acoustics of this empty world, swallowed by silence that's beginning to feel less empty and more full of presence you can't see, can't touch, but can somehow sense. The afternoon finds you in the downtown library, drawn back to that sanctuary of human knowledge. But today the books seem different, more alive, as if they're actively offering themselves to you. You pull a volume from the shelf at random, expecting to find the same text you might have seen yesterday, but instead discover new words, new stories, familiar authors writing books that never existed, creating literature for an audience of one. You sit in the reading area, surrounded by these impossible books, these stories that exist only in this empty world, and begin to understand that the rules you thought governed reality, the laws of physics and time and causality, are more flexible than you ever imagined. This world operates by dream logic, by the physics of desire rather than the constraints of the possible. A book catches your attention, thin and elegant, bound in leather that feels warm to the touch. The title reads, "A Guide for the Last Reader," and when you open it, you find your own handwriting, your own words, describing experiences you haven't had yet, journeys you haven't taken, discoveries you haven't made. It's as if some future version of yourself has written instructions, a roadmap through this strange territory. The text describes places in the city you haven't explored, buildings you haven't entered, but as you read, you remember them, as if the words are creating memories, or perhaps uncovering memories that were always there, waiting for the right moment to surface. The book speaks of hidden spaces, of doors that open only when approached with the right intention, of rooms that exist between the floors of ordinary buildings. One passage particularly draws your attention. The watchers become visible at dusk, when the boundary between what is and what might be grows thin. They have been waiting for you to notice them, waiting for you to understand that you are not the only one who remained, but perhaps the only one who remembers being someone else. You close the book carefully, your hands trembling slightly, not with fear, but with the recognition that you've crossed some invisible threshold, that the world has been trying to tell you something, and you're finally beginning to listen. The library around you seems to pulse with hidden life, books shifting on their shelves, pages turning themselves, knowledge rearranging itself to serve your growing understanding. As you prepare to leave, you notice something that makes you pause. Your shadow, cast by the afternoon light streaming through the tall windows, is wrong, not wrong exactly all, but independent, moving slightly out of sync with your body, stretching in directions that don't match the angle of the sun, as if it has its own source of illumination, its own relationship with light and darkness. You experiment, raising your arm and watching your shadow raise its arm a moment later, turning your head and seeing your shadow turn in the opposite direction. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniable. Your shadow has become something other than a mere reflection, something with its own intentions, its own mysterious purpose. The walk home takes you through streets that seem to rearrange themselves when you're not looking directly, not dramatically, not obviously, but in small ways that accumulate into a growing sense that geography itself has become fluid. A building that was on your left now stands on your right. A street that ran north, south now appears to run east, west, as if the city is slowly rotating, realigning itself according to some internal compass that points toward something other than magnetic north. You stop at intersections and try to map these changes to understand the pattern, but the alterations are too subtle, too organic, like watching a flower grow, impossible to perceive in the moment, but undeniable over time. The city is alive, you realize, not with human life, but with its own consciousness, its own agenda, reshaping itself for reasons you don't yet understand. Back in your apartment building, the elevator behaves strangely, stopping at floors you didn't select, opening its doors to reveal corridors that don't match your memories, hallways that seem longer than they should be, doors numbered in sequences that don't follow logical patterns. 3B, 7A, 12C, as if the building has decided to reorganize itself, to create new possibilities, new spaces for exploration. Your own floor, when you finally reach it, appears normal, familiar. But your apartment door stands slightly open. Though you're certain you closed it when you left this morning, you enter cautiously, calling out a gentle hello, but receive no response. The interior looks exactly as you left it, except for one detail. A cup of tea sits on your kitchen table, still steaming, still hot, prepared exactly as you like it, with the right amount of honey, the right blend of herbs. You approach the cup slowly, wondering if this is another reset, another impossible repetition. But the tea is new, fresh, made while you were away, by hands you didn't see, by someone who knows your preferences, your habits, your small comforts. You lift the cup, inhaling the familiar aroma, and take a tentative sip. The warmth spreads through your chest, not just the physical warmth of the liquid, but something else, the warmth of being cared for, of being noticed, of not being as alone as you thought. A note lies beside where the cup was sitting, written in handwriting that looks almost like yours, but not quite, as if someone has been practicing your penmanship, learning to write like you. The message is simple. Thank you for noticing, or the watching becomes easier when the watched begin to see. Tomorrow the doors will open. Be ready. You read the note several times, each reading revealing new implications, new questions. Tomorrow the doors will open. Which doors? The metaphorical doors of understanding, the physical doors that have remained locked, or something else entirely, something you haven't yet imagined. You spend the evening moving through your apartment with heightened awareness, noticing small changes. A book moved from one shelf to another, a photograph turned to face a different direction, your reflection in the bathroom mirror that seems to be looking slightly past you, as if watching something over your shoulder, something you can't see. As night falls, you position yourself at your living room window, the one that overlooks the city, and watch as the lights come on, automated systems maintaining the illusion of occupancy. But tonight, some of the lights seem different, warmer, more purposeful, as if they're being turned on by conscious choice rather than programmed timers. And then you see them, figures moving in some of the lighted windows. Not clearly, not obviously, but unmistakably there. Shadows passing behind curtains, silhouettes pausing at windows, looking out at the empty streets, looking up at your building, looking. You realize with a start, directly at you. You wave, tentatively, uncertain, and several of the figures wave back, their movements slightly delayed, slightly out of phase, as if they exist in a parallel moment, a reflection of your reality that runs a few seconds behind, or perhaps a few seconds ahead. You're not sure which, not sure if you're watching the past or the future, or something else entirely. The watchers, as the book called them, become more visible as the night deepens, moving through the empty city like benevolent ghosts, tending to the spaces you've explored, maintaining the systems, keeping everything ready, waiting for you to understand your role in this grand performance, waiting for you to discover what comes next. You watch until your eyes grow heavy, until the gentle rhythm of their movements becomes a lullaby. And as you prepare for bed, you realize that tomorrow will bring new revelations, new impossibilities, new understanding of what it means to be alone in a world that isn't empty after all, just operating by different rules, rules that you're only beginning to comprehend. The last thing you notice before sleep claims you is that your reflection in the dark window doesn't disappear when you turn away. It remains, watching the watchers, keeping vigil over this strange new world, maintaining its own mysterious purposes while you rest, preparing for whatever dawn will bring to this place where time bends, where shadows live their own lives, where loneliness is just another word for a solitude so complete it becomes companionship. And in your dreams, you hear voices, not quite familiar, not quite strange, discussing plans in languages you almost understand, making preparations for revelations you're almost ready to receive. In a world that's almost ready to explain itself, almost ready to show you why you're here, why you remained, why you were chosen to witness this beautiful, impossible, transformative pause between one reality and whatever comes next. Chapter 4. The Hidden Layer. You wake before dawn, drawn from sleep by something you can't name, a presence, a calling, a sense that today will bring understanding. The darkness outside your window is different, softer somehow, as if the night itself is preparing to reveal secrets, to lift veils that have kept you from seeing the true nature of this empty world. Your reflection in the bathroom mirror moves independently now, without pretense, without trying to match your movements. It brushes its teeth while you wash your face, combs its hair while you're selecting clothes. Oh, as if you've both accepted this strange partnership, this division of labor between the self and the self's reflection. You nod to your mirror, twin, and it nods back. A greeting between old friends who share the same face but different purposes. The morning air carries new sounds, not quite sounds, but impressions of sound, echoes of conversations you can't quite hear, laughter that exists just beyond the range of your ears, though footsteps that might be your imagination but feel too regular, too purposeful to dismiss. The city is waking up, but not in the way cities usually wake. This is something else, something unprecedented. You make your way to the downtown area, following an intuition you can't explain, drawn by the mysterious note's promise that doors will open today. The streets seem more alive, all, not with visible life, but with potential, with the sense that at any moment the empty spaces might fill, that the interrupted conversations might resume, that the pause button might finally be released. The bank on the corner draws your attention, its heavy glass doors standing open. Despite the early hour, you've passed this building many times, but never entered. Something about banks in empty cities seemed too presumptuous, too much like trespassing. But today the open doors feel like an invitation, like a stage set waiting for the next act to begin. Inside, the marble floors gleam under soft lighting, and you discover that this is more than just a bank. The main floor houses the usual teller windows and customer service areas, but a directory near the elevator lists floors that shouldn't exist, departments with names like temporal adjustments, memory banking, reality maintenance, and at the very top, the observatory. You press the elevator button for the observatory, expecting nothing to happen. But the doors close smoothly, and you feel the subtle sensation of rising past floors that shouldn't exist in a building you thought you knew. When the doors open, you step into something impossible. The observatory is a circular room with floor-to-ceiling windows that offer a view of the city you've never seen before. Not a different city, but the same city viewed through different eyes. Through these windows, you can see the movement you've been sensing. Figures walking the empty streets, going about daily routines in a world that mirrors yours but operates by different rules. They move like sleepwalkers. Or perhaps you're the one who's been sleepwalking, and they're fully awake, going to jobs that exist in the spaces between spaces, living lives that unfold in the pauses between moments, maintaining the world for someone, for you, keeping everything ready for a purpose you're only beginning to glimpse. A desk sits in the center of the room, and on it, a leather-bound journal, the pages thick and cream-colored, the kind of paper that demands careful writing, important words. When you open it, you find entries in your own handwriting, but describing experiences you don't remember having, dates that don't align with your memory, observations of a world that seems familiar but strange. Day 14. Woke to silence. The absence is complete but not empty. Something watches from the spaces between seeing. Day 15. The reflections are gaining independence. I think they're trying to show me something. The city rearranges itself when I'm not looking directly. Day 3-2 found the others today. They've been here all along, living in the pauses. We exist in the same space, but different times. They're preparing something. For me, for everyone. The boundaries are thinning. You flip through pages and pages of your own words, describing weeks, months of experiences you don't remember. But as you read, the memories begin to surface. Not like remembering, but like recognizing, like coming home to a place you never knew you'd left. The journal explains what you've been intuiting. This empty world isn't a catastrophe. It's a chrysalis, a transitional space where reality reshapes itself where the old rules dissolve so new ones can emerge. And you're not a survivor or a victim. You're a witness, a documenter, someone chosen to observe and record this transformation. But chosen by whom? The journal's later entries hint at architects, designers of this experience, beings who exist in the spaces between moments, who tend the machinery of reality itself. They needed someone to watch, to remember, to serve as a bridge between what was and what will be. You look up from the journal, through the impossible windows, and see them more clearly now. The watchers, the tenders, the ones who've been caring for this empty world. They're not quite human, but not quite other. They exist in the margins of visibility, in the corners of perception, and they've been waiting for you to develop the eyes to see them on. One of them notices your gaze, a figure in the street below, and looks up directly at you. The distance should make features impossible to distinguish, but you see the face clearly. Kind eyes, a gentle smile, a nod of acknowledgement, as if to say, finally, you're beginning to understand. The figure gestures, pointing toward something beyond your view, and you realize they're indicating a direction, a destination. Your next step in this journey of discovery. You close the journal, but not before reading the last entry, written in handwriting that's definitely yours, but in ink that's still wet. Day 4-7. Today I climb to the observatory. Today I begin to see. The doors are opening not just for me, but through me. I am the key that unlocks what comes next. The empty world was never empty. It was pregnant, and now it's time for the birth. You take the elevator down, but it doesn't stop at the ground floor. Instead, the doors open onto a level that wasn't there when you arrived, a basement that extends far beyond what the building's footprint should allow. The space is vast, cathedral-like, filled with machinery that hums with purposes you don't understand, devices that seem to monitor, to adjust, to maintain the delicate balance of this transitional reality. Technicians move among the machines, the watchers in their natural environment, tending systems that keep the empty world functioning, that maintain the pause between one state of existence and another. They nod to you as you pass, acknowledging your presence with the casual friendliness of coworkers, as if you've always been part of this team, as if your role was always understood, even if you're only now understanding it yourself. At the center of the vast space, a spiral staircase descends further into the earth. The steps are worn smooth by countless footsteps, and they seem to glow with their own soft light, inviting you deeper toward whatever lies at the heart of this mystery. You begin to descend, each step taking you further from the world you thought you knew, closer to the truth that's been waiting beneath the surface. The staircase opens into a natural cavern, but not entirely natural. The walls bear markings. Truth. Symbols that seem to shift and change when you're not looking directly at them. Mathematical equations that solve themselves. Maps that redraw their own boundaries. Languages that translate themselves as you read. This is a library, but not of books. A library of possibilities, of potential realities, of all the ways the world might be. And there, at the center of this impossible archive, sits a figure you recognize, yourself, but not yourself, an older version, or perhaps a version from a different timeline, writing in a journal that looks exactly like the one you found upstairs. This other, you looks up, smiles with familiar warmth and gestures to a chair that wasn't there a moment ago. Sit down. Your other self says, "We have much to discuss and not much time. The doors are opening, and you need to decide which side of them you want to be on when they close again." You sit, feeling strangely calm, as if this impossible conversation is the most natural thing in the world. "How long have I been here?" you ask, though you're not sure if you mean in this cavern, in this empty world, or in this strange state of being. Time works differently here. The other, you explains, you've been here as long as you needed to be, until you were ready to see, to understand, to choose. The empty world was your training ground, your preparation for this moment, when you decide whether to return to what was or help create what might be. The choice, you realize, isn't just about you. It's about everyone, all the people who vanished, who are waiting in their own transitional spaces, their own empty worlds, for someone to decide whether the old reality should resume, or whether it's time for something entirely new. What happens if I choose to go back? You ask. Everything returns to exactly as it was. The pause ends, life resumes, but nothing changes, nothing grows, nothing learns from this interruption. And if I choose the new, then we become the architects of what comes next. But there's no guarantee, no certainty, only the possibility of something better or something worse. The risk that comes with all true creation. You look around the cavern at the shifting symbols, the transforming equations, the living library of potential, and realize that this has all been leading to this moment. This choice, this responsibility you never asked for, but somehow earned by being willing to pay attention, to notice, to see what others might have missed. The other you watches patiently, understanding that this decision can't be rushed, can't be made from logic alone. It requires something deeper, something that emerges from the synthesis of experience and intuition, of fear and hope, of what was and what might be, or take your time, your other self says, but remember, every moment of hesitation is also a choice. The world is waiting, balanced on the edge of transformation, and we are the fulcrum on which it all turns. You close your eyes, feeling the weight of this impossible responsibility, this beautiful burden, and realize that you've been preparing for this choice since the moment you woke to that first profound silence. Every empty street you explored, every abandoned building you investigated, every moment of solitude you embraced has been leading to this. The future hangs in the balance, not just your future, but the future of everyone who vanished into their own transitional spaces. Everyone who is waiting for someone to choose, to decide, to take responsibility for what comes next. And as you sit in this cavern of possibilities, surrounded by the mathematics of transformation, you begin to understand that the choice itself is less important than the willingness to choose, less about the specific future you select than about accepting the role of architect, of designer, of someone willing to shape reality rather than simply inhabit it. The empty world was never empty. It was a canvas, waiting for someone to decide what picture should be painted, what story should be told, what reality should be born from the pause between one breath and the next. And now, the moment of choosing has arrived. Chapter 5, Alone or Chosen. You open your eyes in the cavern of possibilities and find yourself alone. The other you has vanished, dissolved like morning mist, leaving only the echo of impossible conversation and the weight of an extraordinary choice. But the solitude doesn't feel empty anymore. It feels pregnant with potential, alive with the presence of everyone who is waiting for your decision. The symbols on the cavern walls pulse gently, like a slow heartbeat, and you realize they're responding to your contemplation, shifting to reflect your thoughts, your hopes, your fears about what might come next. The mathematics of transformation is written all around you. Equations that balance loss against possibility, formulas that calculate the cost of change. You rise from the chair and walk among these living equations, touching the walls where diagrams show the branching paths of potential futures. Some lead back to the familiar world, to the comfort of known routines, to the safety of established patterns. Others spiral into territories that have no maps, adventures that promise growth but guarantee nothing, revelations that might illuminate or blind. As you explore deeper into the cavern, You discover chambers branching off from the main space, each one containing artifacts from different possible futures. In one room, photographs show the world you left behind, but changed, evolved. People going about their lives with a deeper awareness, a greater kindness, as if the great pause had taught them something precious about the fragility and beauty of ordinary moments. Another chamber holds images of cities that gleam with impossible architecture, buildings that grow like living things, transportation that flows like water, communities organized around principles you've never imagined, but somehow understand. This is the world that could emerge if humanity chose to redesign itself, to question every assumption, to rebuild from wonder rather than habit. A third room contains darkness, not the darkness of destruction, but the rich darkness of the womb, of potential waiting to be born. This chamber holds no images because what it represents hasn't been imagined yet, hasn't even been dreamed. It's the space of pure possibility, of futures so radically different that they can't be visualized, only felt, only trusted. You spend hours, or perhaps minutes, time moves strangely here, exploring these chambers of might, be, feeling the pull of different possibilities, the attraction of safety, the allure of adventure, the mysterious call of the completely unknown. Each option offers its own gifts, its own risks, its own version of tomorrow. But as you wander these halls of potential, you begin to understand that the choice isn't really about selecting a specific future. It's about choosing to be someone who shapes the future, someone who accepts responsibility for the consequences of consciousness, someone willing to be both artist and canvas in the great work of existence. You make your way back to the central chamber, where the spiral staircase continues downward, deeper into the earth, toward something that calls to you with wordless invitation. The steps glow more brightly now, as if responding to your growing understanding, your increasing readiness for whatever revelation waits at the bottom. The descent seems endless, but also instantaneous, as if you're traveling, not just through space, but through layers of reality, through the sedimentary strata of existence itself, past the surface world of appearances, past the hidden infrastructure of maintenance and care, toward the bedrock of being, the foundation upon which all realities rest. At the bottom, you emerge into a space that defies description. It's vast yet intimate, ancient yet newly born, empty yet full of every possibility that has ever existed or ever could exist. At the center, a simple door, wooden, weathered, the kind of door you might find on any house wall, in any neighborhood, anywhere in the world, But this door pulses with significance, with the weight of ultimate threshold. It stands slightly ajar, revealing nothing but soft light beyond. Light that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere. Light that illuminates without casting shadows, that reveals without defining. You approach slowly, understanding that this is the moment, the final choice point, the place where all your exploration, all your preparation, all your growing awareness converges into a single step, forward into the unknown, or backward toward the familiar. As you reach for the door handle, you hear your name whispered, not by any voice you recognize, but by the voice of the world itself, the collective whisper of everyone who has ever lived, everyone who might live, everyone who is waiting for this moment to discover what they'll become. The whisper doesn't tell you what to choose. It simply acknowledges that you are the one who must choose, the one who stands at the intersection of what was and what might be, the one who will tip the balance toward whatever comes next. You place your hand on the door handle, feeling the warm wood beneath your palm, and pause for one last moment of reflection. Behind you lies the empty world you've come to love, the profound silence that taught you to listen, the solitude that showed you the difference between loneliness and completeness, the mysterious journey that brought you to this threshold. Ahead lies what? Transformation, certainly, but of what kind? Return to the old world, but enriched by what you've learned. Birth of a new world, but shaped by your choices, or something else entirely, something that can't be anticipated, only experienced. You think of all the watchers, all the tenders, all the figures in windows who waved at you across the strange distances of this transitional time. They're not just waiting for your decision. They are your decision. Extensions of your consciousness, manifestations of your growing ability to see beyond the obvious, to perceive the hidden layers of existence. The empty world was never a place. You realize? It was a state of mind, a way of seeing, a capacity for attention that most people never develop. It was your training ground, your school for learning to notice what usually goes unnoticed, to value what usually gets overlooked, to find meaning in spaces that appear vacant but are actually full of potential awe. And now, standing at this ultimate threshold, you understand that you're not choosing between different futures. You're choosing whether to remain a passive observer of reality or to become an active participant in its creation. The door doesn't lead to a different place. It leads to a different way of being, a different relationship with existence itself. You turn the handle, and the door opens fully, revealing not a destination, but a perspective, not a new world, but new eyes with which to see the world. The light beyond the threshold doesn't blind you, it illuminates, showing you that every moment is a choice point, every breath an opportunity to shape reality through the quality of attention you bring to it too. You step through and find yourself back on the empty street where this journey began. But everything is different, not in appearance but in meaning. The silence is still profound. But now you understand, it's not the silence of absence. It's the silence of deep listening, of a world waiting to hear what you'll say next, what you'll choose next, what you'll create next. The watchers emerge from the shadows, no longer hiding, no longer existing, just at the edge of perception. They're revealed as aspects of yourself, different facets of consciousness, different ways of engaging with reality. They smile with recognition, welcoming you back not as someone who left and returned, but as someone who learned to see what was always there. The city around you shimmers, and you realize that the emptiness was an illusion, or rather, a simplification, a way of reducing reality to its essential elements so you could learn to perceive clearly. Now that you've developed that capacity, the full complexity can be revealed, the rich tapestry of existence that includes not just what is, but what could be, what might be, what wants to be. People begin to materialize, not returning from somewhere else, but emerging from the spaces between visibility, from the pauses between heartbeats, from the silence between words. They've been here all along, waiting for you to develop the eyes to see them, waiting for you to understand that emptiness and fullness are not opposites, but partners in the dance of existence. They approach with gentle smiles, these fellow travelers in the art of being, some familiar, some strange, all connected by the invisible threads of shared consciousness, of collective participation in the ongoing creation of reality. They don't speak. There's no need. The understanding passes between you like shared breath, like common light. You realize that your choice wasn't between solitude and community. It was between unconscious participation in reality and conscious co-creation of it. The empty world taught you to see, to notice, to appreciate, to choose with intention rather than habit. Now you can return to the fullness of existence, but as someone who understands their role in maintaining and shaping it. The sun sets on this transformed day, painting the sky in colors that seem more vivid, more alive, more responsive to your appreciation. You understand now that beauty isn't something that exists independently. It's something created through the meeting of consciousness, and possibility, through the willingness to see with eyes of wonder rather than expectation. As darkness falls, the lights of the city come on, but now you can see the intention behind each glow, the consciousness that chooses to illuminate rather than simply following automatic patterns. Every light is a choice, every shadow a space of potential, every moment an opportunity to participate consciously in the grand improvisation of existence. You walk home through streets that are no longer empty, but also not crowded, filled instead with the perfect density of aware participation, of beings who understand that they are not just inhabitants of reality, but its co-creators, its conscious artists, its willing partners in the endless dance of becoming. In your apartment home, you find the journal from the observatory, but now its pages are blank, ready for new entries, new observations, new discoveries. The past has served its purpose, taught its lessons, prepared you for whatever comes next. Now it's time to write new chapters, to document new adventures in conscious living. You prepare for bed, but sleep feels different now, not an escape from consciousness, but a different mode of it, a way of processing, of integrating, of allowing the day's revelations to settle into wisdom. You're no longer alone, but you're also not lost in the crowd. You've found the perfect balance, the sweet spot between solitude and connection, between independence and interdependence. As you drift toward sleep, you hear the city breathing around you, the gentle rhythm of conscious existence, of millions of beings choosing, moment by moment, to participate in the creation of reality, to shape the world through the quality of their attention, their intention, their love. The last thought that carries you into dreams is a simple recognition. You were never alone, even in the empty world, even in the profound silence. You were always part of something larger, something more beautiful, something more mysterious than you could have imagined. You were always chosen, always cherished, always essential to the grand work of existence. And tomorrow, you'll wake to a world that is both familiar and forever changed. A world where emptiness and fullness dance together, where silence and sound create harmony, where every moment offers the choice to see with new eyes, to love with an open heart, to participate consciously in the miracle of being alive all. The empty world is gone, but its gifts remain, the capacity for deep attention, the appreciation for simple beauty, the understanding that consciousness is not a possession, but a responsibility, a gift that keeps giving, a light that illuminates not just what is, but what could be, what wants to be, what is waiting to be born through the marriage of awareness and possibility. You sleep and dream, and in your dreams, new empty worlds await, new opportunities for discovery, new invitations to see beyond the obvious, to find the fullness hidden in apparent emptiness, to understand that every ending is a beginning, every silence a space for new music, every moment of solitude a preparation for deeper connection. The journey continues, will always continue, because consciousness itself is a journey without destination, an exploration without end, a gift that keeps revealing new depths, new possibilities, new ways of being beautifully, wonderfully, consciously alive in a world that is never truly empty, only waiting for eyes willing to see, hearts willing to recognize, souls willing to participate in the endless, gentle, magnificent dance of existence, and in the quiet spaces between sleeping and waking, between one breath and the next, between what was and what will be you. The empty world waits, patient and eternal, ready to welcome any traveler who needs to remember, who needs to learn, who needs to discover that solitude is not loneliness, that silence is not absence, that emptiness is not void, but fullness beyond measure, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be embraced, waiting to transform anyone brave enough, gentle enough, open enough to step into the beautiful mystery of being truly, completely, wonderfully alive. The end.